Good morning, everyone. On the night of Passover at the Seder, we eat the matzah and the maror. And that is biblically ordained in the Torah. It's a commandment from Hashem. But we also drink 4 cups of wine, which is not commanded in the Torah. But rather, it's a rabbinic command based on this week's Torah portion. In this week's Torah portion, God tells Moses, I will take the Jewish people out of Egypt. And God gives 4 expressions of redemption. He says, V'hotzeisi, I'll take you out. V'hitzalti, I will rescue you. V'ga'alti, I will redeem you. V'lakachti, I will take you as my nation. And corresponding to these 4 expressions or languages of redemption, freedom, we drink 4 l'chaims, 4 toasts on 4 cups of wine. But these 4 words are not just synonyms, 4 different ways to say, I will take you out of Egypt. But rather, they're 4 stages in redemption, and they apply to each and every one of us. That when we are seeking to go free from circumstances that enslave us, imprison us, restrict us, we need to go through these 4 different stages. And what were these 4 stages? The first one is, Votzeisi, I'll take you out. God says, I'll take you out of the physical bondage and slavery, which was accomplished through the 10 plagues. It broke Egypt, and no longer were the Jews enslaved. And in every person's redemption, they have to first get out of the circumstance that is confining them. They have to physically go free. But then the Torah says there's a second stage. What's the second stage? I will rescue you. V'hitzalti. You see, when God forbid somebody suffered abuse, for example, it's not enough to leave the circumstances. You then have to confront the person and speak your truth. And say to this person, I will no longer live in an abusive set of circumstances. And that's what the Jewish people did on the night of Passover. The first Passover Seder was not after they left Egypt. It was in Egypt. Why would they celebrate freedom if they're still in Egypt? Because they were saying to their Egyptian taskmasters, we're no longer slaves. We're not going to be subservient to you. We're going to demand our freedom. And that's why they had to put the blood of the Paschal Lamb on the doorpost, so everyone could see that we're standing up and speaking our truth for ourselves and for our freedom. But then they were still not completely free, because even after they left Egypt, they still lived in fear that the Egyptians would pursue them and take them back into slavery. So even though they had left the confines, the boundaries of the land of Egypt, they were still mentally enslaved. And therefore it came to the third stage, which is, V'ga'alti, I will redeem you. That was at the splitting of the sea. When the Egyptians saw their oppressors drowning, now they were no longer even psychologically, emotionally, and mentally enslaved. But all of that led to the ultimate stage, where God says, V'lakachti, I will take you as my nation. I will give you the Torah at Mount Sinai. And what God is saying is, if you went through this trauma, this experience of slavery, it has to lead to not just freedom from, but freedom to. You have to become my nation. You have to accept the Torah, which we live by until this day, 3,300 years later. Because after something like that, after a traumatic experience, people say there's post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. But there's also something called PTSG, post-traumatic stress growth. As a result of this struggle, as a result of this experience, how did the Jewish people grow? They went to Mount Sinai and received the Torah and became God's nation forever. And that's why Egypt is often referred to by the prophets as the Kur HaBarzel, the refinery, which prepared the people to be able to receive the Torah at Mount Sinai. And that's the lesson for all of us. First, we have to go free physically. Then we have to stand up for ourselves and speak out loud our truth, not live in fear, not suppress the abuse anymore. Then we have to go out psychologically, mentally, and then we have to grow from that experience. Someone once said, don't pray for the strength to meet your challenges. Don't pray for challenges that meet your strength, that match your strength. Pray for the strength to meet and match your challenges. God gives us the strength to face our challenges and to overcome them and to grow as a result of them. On October 7th, there was a couple from Israel, from Jerusalem, that went to the Re'im festival. They had 2 daughters. They left them home, and his name is Roi Asraf, and together with his wife Yona, they went to party at the festival. Now this is a very secular couple. If you saw a picture of them, he was filled with tattoos on his neck, on his arms. A real, secular Israeli, and his wife, a secular Israeli girl. They left their kids home with a babysitter and they went to celebrate. When the rockets came, they jumped into their car and they started to fly, to take off, to run, to flee. And suddenly there's bullets being shot at them by terrorists. And Rowie says the bullets were coming through the car, so he just lowered his head beneath the window and he hit the gas pedal without even seeing the road, just flying so the bullets don't hit him. And miraculously they escaped and made it back to their home at 11 a.m. And he was so shook up from this experience that as the bullets were flying, he thought this was the end of his life, and suddenly he started to cry out, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. That was the first thing that came to his mind. And he realized that deep down, in that moment of crisis, as they say, there's no atheist in a foxhole, he started to pray to God. That's where he turned to. And he said to himself, if God saved my life, it has to be for a purpose. I need to return to God. I need to have a relationship with God. And since October 7th, he started to become more and more observant. And now he wears a kippah on his head. And his wife covers her hair. And they're living a completely religious life. They started keeping kosher and Shabbat. They transformed their whole home. Put up mezuzahs on the doors. He puts on tefillin every day. And he sent his daughters to a Jewish school to learn Torah. And he transformed his whole life. Every person has been changed by the events of October 7th. If we went through this trauma, we went through this anguish, we now have to grow from it. And we have been growing as a people and as individuals. Everyone has changed for the better. We see it before our eyes. And that's what God says, I will take you out, but ultimately I will take you to become my nation. Have a wonderful day.